It's all covered in today's China Truths.
China's so-called great power aircraft carriers are increasingly being mocked as tofu projects, grand in appearance but weak in essence. From the Liaoning to the Shandong and now the Fujian, each ship has been promoted as a symbol of national pride, yet cracks in design and engineering tell another story. Experts note that these carriers often lack the reliability, efficiency, and endurance seen in Western fleets. Even the Fujian, claimed to be equipped with advanced electromagnetic launch systems, suffers from structural and functional flaws. The Liaoning and Shandong, both using outdated ski jump decks, can barely operate modern fighter jets at full capacity. Inside China, online discussions reveal growing doubts about whether these ships could survive a real battle. While state media hails them as breakthroughs, engineers whisper that many systems are untested and unstable. Behind the patriotic slogans lies the fragile truth. China's aircraft carriers are still just expensive showpieces. Two former U.S. aircraft carrier officers say China's newest aircraft carrier, the Fujian, has fatal flaws and may have only 60% of the air combat capability of a 50-year-old U.S. aircraft carrier. The Fujian, recently docked at Hainan Island, is expected to officially enter service within weeks. After reviewing photos of the Fujian's flight deck, Captain Carl Schuster, who served on 2 U.S. Navy aircraft carriers, and Lieutenant Commander Keith Stewart, a former Navy pilot, both noted that the Fujian's flight deck design limits the speed at which fighter jets can take off and land simultaneously. This limitation is even more pronounced when compared to Nimitz-class carriers. Schuster therefore assessed, the Fujian's combat capability is only about 60% of that of the Nimitz class. The USS Nimitz is the oldest active U.S. aircraft carrier, having entered service in May 1975. The U.S. Navy has 11 active aircraft carriers, 10 of which are Nimitz class, 97,000 tons displacement. The Fujian, with a displacement of approximately 80,000 tons, is the closest Chinese warship to the Nimitz-class carrier in size, but it has not yet been commissioned. China's only active aircraft carriers are the Liaoning and Shandong, which displace 60,000 to 70,000 tons and both utilize a ski jump takeoff system. While China touted the Fujian as a major development, claiming it utilizes an electromagnetic aircraft launch system, EMALS, allowing aircraft on board to launch without relying on their own power and enabling them to carry additional weapons and fuel for strikes at greater distances. Two military officers, however, pointed out that because China developed its aircraft carrier from scratch, it lacked practical experience with this new technology and design, resulting in critical flaws in the final product. Currently, only the most advanced U.S. aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, has electromagnetic catapult capabilities. Crowded deck design significantly reduces fighter takeoff and landing efficiency. Schuster stated that the Fujian's deck design makes takeoff and landing space more crowded, limiting the efficiency of operating multiple fighters simultaneously and reducing overall combat capability. Schuster noted that the angle between the Fujian's landing area and the deck centerline is only 6 degrees. The smaller the angle, the closer the landing runway is to the catapult, limiting aircraft takeoff and landing efficiency. In comparison, U.S. aircraft carriers have an angle of 9 degrees. Furthermore, the Fujian's extended landing area forces aircraft to land too close to the bow catapult launch area, hindering catapult launches. The longer landing area and narrower deck angle reduce the space available for aircraft to reposition after landing, Schuster said. Schuster and Stewart also pointed out that because the Fujian's forward catapult is longer than the Nimitz's, there is a risk of collision or interference between Chinese fighter jets moving between the deck and the elevators. The Chinese military's only solution is to slow down flight deck operations to avoid accidents. Aircraft carrier combat experience is one of the areas where the Chinese military has the greatest gap. Stewart pointed out that aircraft carrier operations are one of the areas where the Chinese military has the greatest gap in experience. He believes it will take a long time for China to catch up with the U.S. military. This is especially true for the Fujian, which is equipped with an electromagnetic catapult system. These experiences can only be gained through actual combat operations in various environments. There's an old naval proverb that says, "All the rules of carrier operations are written in blood," meaning that people have been seriously injured or killed during carrier flight operations. Stewart said, "I've personally witnessed several deaths on a carrier flight deck and know how dangerous it is. Building a brand new aircraft carrier is certainly not easy, but I believe China still has many unknowns about the practicalities of carrier operations." He said, "Taking off and landing from an aircraft carrier during the day in good weather is not difficult. The real challenge is taking off and landing at night in a storm, with the deck heaving 18 feet, low on fuel, and filled with fear. This situation can make a pilot's face turn pale with anxiety." Analysts describe these carriers as floating ornaments, more useful for propaganda than war. Their construction mirrors China's tofu dreg building culture, built fast, showcased proudly, but risky beneath the surface. Reports suggest that weld quality, internal maintenance, and power systems fail to meet international naval standards. Even small-scale exercises have exposed repeated mechanical breakdowns. Crew members reportedly struggle with deck operations and aircraft coordination, highlighting the gap between display and actual combat readiness. Compared to the U.S. Navy's decades of carrier experience, China's fleet remains experimental. Military observers warn that Beijing's obsession with appearance over performance could end in disaster during real warfare. In essence, China's aircraft carriers look powerful on screen, but at sea, they are little more than fragile symbols of ambition. Guangzhou Automobile Group's net profit fell 3,091% year-on-year, with a net loss of 4.3 billion yuan. China's once booming automobile industry is now collapsing under the weight of overcapacity, fierce competition, and shrinking consumer demand. Across the country, major automakers are halting production, slashing jobs, or filing for bankruptcy as profits vanish. Once promising brands like Evergrande Auto, WM Motor, and Hosan are drowning in debt, while traditional state-owned giants such as GAS and FAW report record losses. Sales have plummeted as domestic demand weakens, and global exports face rising trade barriers. Government subsidies that once fueled growth have dried up, leaving companies unable to sustain massive production lines. Car lots are filled with unsold vehicles, and suppliers are shutting down one after another. What was once hailed as a pillar of China's manufacturing strength is now turning into a graveyard of failed investments and broken promises. Guangzhou Automobile Group company Liaoning, GAC Group, reported a loss of 4.312 billion yuan, RMB, the same below, in the first 3 quarters of this year, a year-on-year decline of 3,691.33%. GAC Group stated that this was primarily due to a combination of factors, including declining profits. GAC Group's 2025 third-quarter report, released on October 25th, showed that in the third quarter the company achieved operating revenue of 24.106 billion yuan, a year-on-year decline of 14.62%. Net profit attributable to shareholders of the listed company was 1.774 billion yuan, a year-on-year decline of 27.02%, and basic earnings per share were 0.17 yuan. Overall, GAC Group's net profit attributable to shareholders of the listed company was 4.312 billion yuan in the first 3 quarters of this year, a year-on-year decline of 3,691.33%. GAC Group attributed the sharp decline in profits to a combination of fierce competition in China's auto industry and a rapidly evolving demand structure, leading to declining vehicle sales and profits, as well as a year-on-year decrease in net profit. In recent years, GAC Group's vehicle sales have been on a downward trend. According to the production and sales report, GAC Group sold a total of 1.1837 million vehicles from January to September this year, a year-on-year decline of 11.34%. In the first 6 months of this year, GAC Group produced and sold 801,700 and 755,300 vehicles, down 6.73% and 12.48% year-on-year respectively, achieving only 32.84% of its annual target of 2.3 million vehicles. At the same time, public data show that in the first 6 months, the company's net loss attributable to the parent company after deducting non-recurring items was 2.945 billion yuan, a further increase from the loss of 338 million yuan in the same period last year. Net operating cash flow was 10.769 billion yuan, a year-on-year decrease of 508.8%. Guangzhou Automobile Group Committee Limited, established on June 6, 1997, is a state-controlled enterprise listed on both the A-share and H-share markets and supervised by the Guangzhou State-Owned Assets Supervision and Administration Commission of the Communist Party of China. As of the close of trading on the 24th Beijing time, GAC Group's stock fell 0.38% to 7.81 yuan per share, with a total market value of 66.5 billion yuan. The collapse of China's auto industry is just one reflection of a much deeper economic crisis spreading across the country. As factories shut down and capital flees, confidence in China's growth model continues to crumble. Massive debts, weak consumer spending, and the failure of local governments to stimulate demand have pushed the economy to the edge. Once driven by construction and manufacturing, China now faces a chain reaction of bankruptcies and unemployment. Even government propaganda struggles to hide the severity of the downturn. Investors are withdrawing, foreign companies are fleeing, and ordinary citizens are losing faith in recovery. The dream of becoming an industrial superpower is fading fast, replaced by a grim reality of stagnation and despair.
Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We will keep reporting on the COVID surge in China, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to get the latest videos. And thank you for tuning in.